Real quick, let's jump into what we've got as far as the playoffs. We're in the conference semifinals, so there's only 8 teams left, 4 on each side. You've got the Thunder, the 1-seed Thunder. They're playing the Mavericks. They're down 2-1. The Mavericks got a big win last night in Dallas. So 105-101. So Dallas is up 2-1. On the Thunder, interesting game coming tomorrow night. Huge. Well, let me continue first. The Celtics are up 2-1 on the Cavs. Cavs stole game 2. This is exactly what happened to the Celtics in the first series. Miami stole game 2. Celtics, for whatever reason, don't lose on the road. And they go out and they smack the Cavs in the mouth in Cleveland for game 3. I assume they're going to smack the Cavs in the mouth again in Cleveland for game 4. Get them out of here in game 5, 4-1. Once again, the Cavs have no real answer. They don't have anything. And Donovan Mitchell, I'll say this. There's been a lot of talk about how important this playoff run for Donovan Mitchell is in Cleveland. If Cleveland can't figure out that Donovan Mitchell is important to them, then I don't know what is. I don't think you can have 2 small guards. Now, I know I just talked about the small guards thing with Brunson. I don't think you can have 2 small guards. I think you can have 1. The problem is Mitchell's not a point guard. So, like, he's so small for the shooting guard position that it's hard. So you kind of hope you can get, like D'Angelo Russell's 6'5", but he can't really play defense. They need, like, a DeJounte Murray from Atlanta. Good size guard. He can play defense. He's long. He's got a long wingspan. I think a guy like DeJounte Murray would be a perfect guard combo with Donovan Mitchell. And then I also don't necessarily think that you can have, when your 2 big men are both the same type of big man, long, lanky, rim protector guys. Unless Mobley, I think Evan Mobley, I was talking to Kev about this just last week. If Evan Mobley can become, I think that he needs to try to become Anthony Davis the best he can. Bulk up in the shoulders, master a mid-range game, and then once you master your mid-range game, now you can master your pump fake and put the ball down, 1 dribble to the basket game. If you can master that, go along with your defense, you need to get your scoring from, let me see what Evan Mobley, his career stats are, like his seasonal stats. Because if Evan Mobley can get his stats up to about 23. So he averages 16 points a game and 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Okay? That's solid. But he's been the same player this is now his 3rd year. If he can get that up to about 22 and a half, 23 points per game, 11 rebounds, still do what he does on defense, you're talking about something completely different. So I think that Anthony Davis, if Anthony Davis is who he can be or try to become, then you can have Jared Allen as well, the way that the Lakers did with Davis and Dwight Howard, and then like when they won in the bubble, where you can have those 2 long, lanky guys because Mobley's an offensive threat. I think the Cavs would, but right now you've got 2 bigs who kind of are the same, one of which is hurt, Jared Allen, he's hurt. And then you've got 2 smaller guards, one who can score at an elite level and one who is really struggling in these playoffs, Darius Garland. And I like Garland a lot, but I don't know if grit and grind is the kind of system Darius Garland needs to play in. I almost wonder if he would be better suited in, and they don't need him, but a team that played like Sacramento, a team that played like Indiana, that played a little bit higher pace, higher tempo, run and gun up the court, the old Denver Nuggets with George Karl as the coach. Like, I think that's a system that would be a little bit more suited to him. Play more, get him more up and down the court as opposed to playing in half court. So Celtics are up 2-1 on the Cavs. I think they're going to beat them in 5. The Timberwolves are up 2-1 on the Nuggets. Now, remember, no home team has won a game yet in this series. Minnesota won game 1, 106-99. Hell of a game from Ant. Minnesota blew the doors off of Denver in the second game. Won something. They beat them by like 27 points, 26 points, something like that. And then in the third game, Denver said, hey, we can't lose. With Minnesota being so young, and when I say young, I don't mean young, like they've got Rudy Gobert, he's a veteran. Cat's been in the league long enough. Conley's been in the league long enough. But young as far as like these guys aren't super playoff experienced, right? Like they won that one game in the play-in to make the tournament, then they lost to the Nuggets last year in the first round. I think that so playoff young. I think that a letdown was kind of something that was expected. I think they were like, oh man, we've been blowing them out. You always, and it's funny because I heard someone, I was listening to a podcast, and I think I heard them say that a coach once said, the game in a series after you blow a team out is such a hard game to win because you're just set up for a letdown. And I think that's exactly what happened. I think the Wolves came out. Denver came out being like expected to, okay, they're letting calls go. Okay, game 2, we came out with one goal, attack Cat and make him get in foul trouble. And it seemed like that's all they wanted to do. And when they weren't calling fouls, and they just got out of their game and they said, you know what, we're just going to play and what happens, happens. I still don't like the way I'm seeing Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He seems to still be arguing at every call. And I even noticed Jamal Murray at one point in the first quarter, like grabbed him, like, dog, come on. Like this, there's no need to argue this call. Let's go. Like, I liked that they were locked in and focused. And then they blew Minnesota out by 27, 26, whatever it was, in game 3. So now both teams have the blowout. Okay, so the blowout's done, right? And now you've basically got this series as 1-0 Minnesota because take the 2 blowouts out, they cancel each other out. But Minnesota's up 2-1. Huge game tonight in Minnesota. Denver does not want to get down 3-1. They would love to break it 2-2. But now, just like blowing a team out sets you up for a letdown, getting blown out also sets you up for a come up. So just how basically the position that the Wolves and the Nuggets were in heading into game 3 is now reversed, where now the Nuggets need to make sure they don't let down. And the only reason why I don't think they will let down is because they're still down in the series 2-1. But Minnesota has now had the wake-up call like, okay, hey, this is still the defending champs. That's our first loss in the playoffs. Remember, they swept Phoenix. That's our first loss in the playoffs. All right, cool. Now let's wake up. I'm a huge Carolina Tar Heels fan. One of the biggest things that I used to always say was, if they win the ACC tournament before going to the NCAA tournament, they're not going to win the NCAA tournament. They need to lose one more time because when they're riding high, they won the ACC, they're the number 1 seed, and they run through the ACC tournament. They've gone a month and a half without losing, a month and a half without, having to hit some adversity. It's never good when you're going into the NCAA tournament. So I think it's the same thing there. Wolves are going to wake up. I don't know who I got. I don't know. I'm leaning Timberwolves. But if I gamble on it, I'm not picking a winner. I'm going to pick over-unders, and I'm going to pick player props because I just, no. And then lastly, you got the Knicks are up 2-1 on the Pacers. Hell of a game 3 between the two of them. And I actually thought the Knicks were going to win that. Remember, that was Thursday night. That was Friday night. I was at dinner with my mom. And I remember seeing the Knicks were up like 9 in the fourth quarter. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, they're gonna go up 3-1. Resiliency by the Pacers. I also think that the Pacers are missing something. I'm not a huge Pascal Siakam guy, personally. I know, but I understand why people like him. So I don't hate it. Like I don't dislike him. I'm just not a huge Pascal guy. I don't think that he necessarily has like much to his bag, but I know how valuable he is, and I've seen him, when he's really hooping when they won that championship with Kawhi. So I know what he can be. Miles Turner is showing. I mean, when you have guys in the playoffs playing, like maximizing that potential that you've always seen them have, which is why Miles Turner is one always on the trading block, because there are people who see, here's what he could be. Then he's showing in the playoffs what he could be. Miles Turner's playing well. Of course, I love Tyrese Halliburton. And they're missing some guys. Remember, they started out this season hot. Then they traded Buddy Hield, and Benedict Mathurin got hurt. That's 2 guards. Like, that's like they're not as deep as they used to be, and they still, finished out the 6 seed, stayed out of the play-in, one round one against the Bucks. But the Knicks are up 2-1, and they also play tonight as well. So, if I had to choose, I'm still leaning Nuggets over Minnesota, but I reserve the right. I'm leaning Minnesota to win this game, but just something tells me I still feel like the Nuggets might pull this out. And if the Nuggets mess around and pull this series out, you can book them to the finals. I will say that. If the Nuggets mess around and pull this series out, you can book them going to the finals, because that was a gut check moment that they had. We had talked about how, in their finals run, they had never played a team over 50 wins. They're down 0-2. No, they never had adversity. This was a gut check. If you could mid-series gut check and say, hey, Nuggets haven't played great basketball all playoffs. They were down in the first half against the Lakers every single game. They get out slow. Now this is where it's like, oh, yo, nah, we got to get back to Nuggets basketball. So that very well game 3 could have showed us a wake-up call, or it could have just been a letdown from Minnesota. We'll know that game by tonight. But if the Nuggets take this 2-2, and if the Nuggets come back and win this series, you can book them for the finals. Thunder and Mavericks, I think that the Mavericks, and I kind of liked their playoff matchups. I liked them against the Clippers, and I liked them against the Thunder. I think the Mavericks are going to win this series. I do think it still might go 7. Wouldn't surprise me if the Thunder win Game 4. And if they don't win Game 4, it wouldn't surprise me if they then won Games 5 at home and 6 in Dallas, because it's not like the games are blowouts anywhere. Like I said, Celtics in 5, and I think the Knicks are going to win this probably in 6. Knicks will probably go up. It'll probably tie, probably go 2-2 back to the Garden. Knicks will probably win in the Garden, and Knicks will probably win in Indiana. I don't necessarily like the way the Knicks look down the stretch when teams force them to get the ball out of Brunson's hands. But Josh Hart, and I apologize for sniffling in the mic, but Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, the Villanova trio, they're big time, man. They're big time. But I'm going Mavs versus Nuggets right now in the conference finals, and I'm going Knicks versus Celtics in the conference finals. That's what I got.